Dig it.
Slow drag with remedy. There's an expression I quite admire. It's something about if you change someone's mind against their will, you've not succeeded in changing their mind at all. So I searched for the exact quote and found, "A man convinced against his will is of the same opinion still." And this is pretty close to what I want to convey. It was quoted online by someone who professed to be in a rush, yet who nevertheless went on at great lengths, something on the topic of egos, I think. He attributed this quote to Benjamin Franklin with great confidence. It seems Mark Twain and Benjamin Franklin both have had their fair share of quotes attributed to them, and probably just as many of their quotes attributed to someone else, and vice versa. Twain thought the coldest winter he ever spent was a summer in San Francisco, and that golf is a good walk spoiled. Anything humorous seems to go to him. Franklin, on the other hand, espoused either write something worth reading or do something worth writing. Anything that sounds wise and or folksy seems to go to him. Looking over Benjamin Franklin's quotes with a linguist's eye, it's apparent he's given to repetition. As with the above-mentioned something worth writing, there is also, among others, by failing to prepare, you are preparing to fail. Yet, I don't see much rhyming, so I question if the quote I'm after is a genuine quote of Franklin's. That said, even repetition isn't a guarantee. Case in point, a penny saved is a penny earned. Everyone knows Franklin coined this phrase, right? Well, while it fits all the Franklinness of a quote, the caution, the wisdom, the repetition, according to the Franklin Institute website, he never said this. On the Institute's list of 7 things Benjamin Franklin never said, the closest to this adage was found in a 1737 Poor Richard's Almanac, quote, "A penny saved is 2 pence clear." Unquote. Further searching found the quote I'm after about changing a person's mind is attributed to many people, including Dale Carnegie and, of course, the great unknown. So I'm not sure who exactly said it or exactly how it's worded. Nevertheless, the point of a person convinced against their will is of the same opinion still might save many of us a lot of angst and conflict if we used empathy rather than brute force to try to settle our differences. Oh, and by the way, it appears that it wasn't Mark Twain who said golf was a nice walk spoiled. It is, however, a very good example of how easy it is to convolute words and phrases. My name is Remedy, and this is an appreciation and exploration of linguistics, language, poetry, and clever wordplay as framed by the peerless poetry of the modern-day master, Elvis Costello. Today's slow drag is with Let Him Dangle from Spike, released in 1989. The songwriting is credited to Elvis Costello. It's a grave ballad with an ominous refrain and catchy chorus. It's a page out of the irreversible past of 1953 Britain that would have warranted a 12-part podcast if it were to have happened today. You might be familiar with this story, the story of Derek Bentley, Christopher Craig, mob mentality, and the consequence of ambiguous language. Bentley said to Craig, "Let him have it, Chris." They still don't know today just what he meant by this. Craig fired the pistol, but was too young to swing, so the police took Bentley, and the very next thing, let him dangle. Bentley is Derek Bentley, 19 years old at the time. Craig is Christopher Craig, 16 years old at the time. Imagined a darkened rooftop where Bentley was nabbed as he and Craig were out to commit burglaries that night. Let him have it, Chris. 5 words whose meaning has been debated and even questioned if they even were uttered. 5 words that filled the headlines the year after London saw a rise in crime and 4 police officers killed in the line of duty. Tensions must have been running high. Bentley had surrendered. He was under arrest when he gave Chris Craig that fatal request. Craig shot Sidney Miles. He took Bentley's word. The prosecution claimed as they charged him with murder. Let him dangle. There's a bit of poetic license that Elvis Costello uses to report how Bentley was, quote, under arrest, when he was more than likely merely detained by Detective Constable Frederick Fairfax, one of the first officers on the scene at the Barlow and Parker Confectionery Company where the boys had gone to burglarize the place. According to capitalpunishmentuk.org, the technical difference between being arrested and being detained is quite important. Just as important, Bentley was not only compliant, he was armed with only a knife and knuckle duster, brass knuckles as we know it in the States, of which D.C. Fairfax took off him without incident. In fact, Bentley stayed with P.C. Fairfax even after Craig had shot him in the shoulder. The burglars and first responders had been up on that roof for about a half hour when other officers arrived and made their way up to them. Craig shot the first officer who came through the roof door, killing him instantly with a shot to the head. After firing off the rest of his bullets in quick succession at more officers coming through the door, the cornered Craig leapt from the roof, breaking his back and other bones as he fell 27 feet into a glass greenhouse below. They say Derek Bentley was easily led. Well, what's that to the woman that Sidney Miles wed? P.C. Sidney Miles was the constable who was killed as he came through the door to the roof. And while Bentley was 19 years old, his mental age was reported to have been that of an 11-year-old. Though guilty was the verdict, and Craig had shot him dead, the gallows were for Bentley, and still she never said, "Let him dangle." Derek Bentley proved to be quite a confused witness on the stand at his trial. He couldn't explain if he was actually under arrest by D.C. Fairfax or not on the roof. Had Bentley been under arrest and not merely detained, quote, it could have easily have saved Bentley, as being under arrest is a strong defense, unquote. The more lingering and perplexing issue was the exact meaning and intention of "let him have it, Chris." Both Craig and Bentley were tried and convicted. However, because Christopher Craig was a minor and since Bentley was of age, the death sentence was handed down to him. Well, it's hard to imagine it's the times that have changed when there's a murder in the kitchen that is brutal and strange. If killing anybody is a terrible crime, why does this bloodthirsty chorus come round from time to time? Let him dangle. The sense from the more level-headed amongst them at the time seemed to agree that "let him have it, Chris" wasn't gangster speak Bentley was using. It was a simple request to give the gun to D.C. Fairfax. It seems the only thing Bentley was guilty of was attempted burglary. Not many people thought that Bentley would hang, but the word never came. The phone never rang. Outside Wandsworth Prison, there was horror and hate as the hangman shook Bentley's hand to calculate his weight. Let him dangle. This was 1953, Britain. Well, it's hard to imagine it's the times that have changed when there's a murder in the kitchen that is brutal and strange. Capital punishment was done away with permanently in the UK in 1969, with its final executions by hanging of co-conspirators Evans and Allen on August 13th, 1964, a year before the practice was suspended and then ultimately abolished 5 years later. Despite the abolition of capital punishment, however, despite the continued outrage the Derek Bentley case elicited, there are those who advocate for the reinstatement of the death penalty. If killing anybody is a terrible crime, why does this bloodthirsty chorus come round from time to time? Let him dangle. This goes back to the saying about changing someone's mind against their will. Instead of a declarative capital punishment is barbaric, Elvis Costello merely asks, if killing anybody is a terrible crime, then why is a death penalty trotted out as a form of punishment? From a welfare state to society murder, bring back the noose is always heard whenever those swine are under attack. But it won't make it even. It won't bring him back. Let him dangle. Using an inflammatory term such as swine seems to betray the poet's stance on the death penalty, but logic quickly takes over before a passionate statement turns into a heated argument. Simply put, it won't make it even. It won't bring him back. Derek Bentley was hanged on January 28, 1953, and was buried in the Wandsworth Prison cemetery. He was eventually reburied outside of the gates of the prison in 1966, but it wasn't until 1998, nearly a half-century after his hanging, that Derek Bentley was provided a posthumous pardon. This was due in part to forensic linguistics, a growing and fascinating field of language science that looked at Bentley's idiolect or his individual way of speaking and concluded the phrasing was more apt to reflect the way the police officer spoke than how he spoke. As at the time of Bentley's 1998 posthumous pardon, Christopher Craig was still alive. He expressed, quote, relief over the pardon and continued to maintain that Bentley, in fact, never even uttered those 5 fateful words. Let him have it, Chris. Dig it. Again, this has been a slow drag with Let Him Dangle from 1989's Spike. The haunting handshake, the rush to judgment, the scapegoating, the long road to redemption. Derek Bentley's headstone reads, "Here lies Derek William Bentley, a victim of British justice." It's a song filled with calm logic and restrained contempt. It doesn't bog down an argument. It simply lays out the facts, asks a logical question, and then chills you to the bone with the meaning of a casual handshake. How many other people had come before Derek Bentley that had honed the hangman's talent for weight? Thank you very much for finding this appreciation and exploration of linguistics, of language, of poetry, of obscure references, and great wordplay, all framed by the peerless poetry of the modern-day master, Elvis Costello. Please check the show notes for links to the actual song, as well as links to references made in this episode. I have included many helpful newspaper articles, documentary snippets, and the trailer for the film Let Him Have It. There is also a companion blog with other references for your convenience. Thank you for listening all the way to the end of this appreciation. If you like this appreciation, then please subscribe and share with other language lovers. Get in touch with comments, suggestions, or stories of your own. I'd love to hear from you. Thank you. So, until next time, adieu, my little ballyhoo. Slow drag with remedy.